Hello, welcome to Poetry. I have prepared a few wintry selections, so sit back and enjoy. First, an Italian folk tale compiled by Italo Calvino. This titled The North Wind's Gift. A farmer by the name of Gippone lived on a prior's farm up on a hillside where the north wind always destroyed his crops. As a result, poor Gippone and his family often went hungry. One day he made a decision. I shall go in search of this wind that persecutes me. He said goodbye to wife and children and headed for the mountains. As soon as he got to Ginevra Castle, he knocked on the door. The North Wind's wife peeped out the window. "Who's knocking?" "It's Gippone. Is your husband there?" "He went out to blow through the beech trees a while and will be back shortly. Come inside and wait for him." An hour later, the North Wind returned. "Good day, Wind. Who are you?" "I'm Gippone." "What do you want?" "Every year you ruin my crops, as you well know. All because of you, my family and I are starving to death." "What did you come to me for?" "To ask you to make up for all the suffering you've caused me." "What can I do?" "I leave that up to you." The North Wind's heart went out to Gippone, to whom he said, "Take this box and open it whenever you get hungry. Order whatever you wish and you will get it, but tell no one about the box, or you'll lose it and end up with nothing at all." Gippone thanked him and departed. Halfway home, as he went through the woods, he got hungry and thirsty. He opened the box and said, "Bring out wine, bread, and something to eat with it," whereupon the box produced a hearty loaf, a bottle, and a ham. Gippone had a fine feast right there in the woods and then continued on his way. Just before he reached his house, he met his wife and children, who had walked down the road to meet him. "How did you fare? Did things go well?" "Quite nicely," he replied, leading them all inside. "Everybody sit down to the table." He then said to the box, "Wine, bread, and all the rest for everybody here." So they all had a fine dinner. When the meal was over, Gippone said to his wife, "Don't tell the prior I brought this box back, or he'll want to take it away from me." "I wouldn't dream of it." The prior sent for Gippone's wife. "Your husband is back, is he? How did everything go?" "Fine. I'm glad to hear it. And what did he bring back worth a mention?" Thus one thing led to another, and before you knew it, the cat was out of the bag. The prior sent for Gippone at once. "Gippone, my good man, I hear you have a very valuable box. May I see it?" Gippone was inclined to deny the whole story, but now that his wife had blabbed, what could he do but show the priest the box and how it worked? "Gippone, you just have to give it to me." "Then what will I do?" replied Gippone. "You know I lost all my crops and have nothing to eat." "If you give me the box, I'll give you all the grain you want, all the wine you can drink, and whatever else you ask for." Gippone, poor soul, gave in. And what did he get in return? The prior let him have a few sacks of wretched seed, and that was that. Gippone was again as badly off as ever, and all because of his wife, mind you. "You caused me to lose the box," he said, "and to think that the North Wind advised me not to mention that box to a soul. Now I'd never have the nerve to go back to him." In the end, though, he took heart and set out for the castle. He knocked, and the Wind's wife looked out. "Who's there?" "Gippone." Then the Wind also looked out. "What do you want, Gippone?" "You remember the box you gave me? Well, my landlord took it away from me and won't give it back, and now I live in hunger and poverty." "I told you to tell no one about the box, so go away, since I'm giving you nothing more. Please, you alone can make good this loss." A second time the Wind's heart went out to Gippone, and he pulled out a gold box and gave it to him. "Don't open this one unless you are famished. Otherwise it won't obey you. Jepone thanked the wind and headed home through the valleys with the box. Hunger soon got the better of him, and he opened the box and said, "Provide." Out of the box jumped a big, strapping man holding a club and began thrashing poor Jepone for dear life. As soon as he could, Jepone shut the box and continued on his way, all stiff and bruised. To his wife and children who'd come down the road to meet him and find out how things went, he said, "All right, I brought back a finer box than the other one." He sat them around the table and opened the gold box. This time, out came not just one, but two big strapping men with clubs and set upon the family. The wife and children screamed for mercy, but the men didn't let up until Jepone got the box closed. "Now go to the prior," he instructed his wife, "and tell him I brought back a much nicer box this time than the last." The wife went, and the prior asked her the usual questions. "So Jepone's back? What did he bring home this time?" "Just imagine, prior, he brought a nicer box than the other one. It's solid gold, and the beautifully cooked dinners it serves are a dream, but Jepone wouldn't part with this box for the world." The priest sent for Jepone at once. Jepone, you don't know how glad I am you're back. And with another box, show it to me. If I do, you'll take this one away from me too." "No, I won't, I promise." Jepone showed him a corner of the glittering box. The priest couldn't contain himself a second longer. "Jepone, give it to me, and I'll give you back the other one. What do you need with a gold box? I'll give you the other one for it, and then something." "All right, return the other one, and I'll give you this one." "Agreed. But beware of opening this box, prior, unless you are famished." "This box couldn't come my way at a better time," said the prior. "I'm expecting the bishop tomorrow and many other priests. I'll keep them all fasting till noon, then open the box and offer them a big dinner." In the morning, after saying their masses, all the priests started milling around the prior's kitchen. "He refuses us breakfast this morning," they said. "Just look, the fire's out and the larder's empty." But those in the know said, "Just you wait. At dinner time he's going to open a box and serve a meal finer than any we could imagine." In marched the prior and seated everyone around the table, in the center of which gleamed the gold box, with all eyes now upon it. The prior opened the box, and out leaped 6 strapping men with clubs and began clubbing the priests for all they were worth. Under that onslaught, the prior dropped the box, which lay open on the floor, so the men went on pounding the life out of the dinner guests. Jepone, who was hiding nearby, noticed the box and shut it. Otherwise, the men would have beaten the priests to death. So that was the meal they got, and it appears that they were unable to say their office in the evening. Jepone kept both boxes, never lent them out again, and from that day on lived a life of ease. What you think about that? Let's see what we got. Now I'll read a couple of poems by the Chinese poet Tu Fu, who wrote in the 8th century. The first, translated by Kenneth Rexroth, is titled Sunset. Sunset glitters on the beads of the curtains. Spring flowers bloom in the valley. The gardens along the river are filled with perfume. Smoke of cooking fires drifts over the slow barges. Sparrows hop and tumble in the branches. Whirling insects swarm in the air. Who discovered that one cup of thick wine will dispel 1,000 cares? And another by Tu Fu, also translated by Rexroth. This titled Winter Dawn. The men and beasts of the zodiac have marched over us once more. Green wine bottles and red lobster shells, both emptied, litter the table. Should old acquaintance be forgot? Each sits listening to his own thoughts. And the sound of cars starting outside, the birds in the eaves are restless because of the noise and light. Soon now, in the winter dawn, I will face my 40th year, borne headlong towards the long shadows of sunset by the headstrong, stubborn moments. Life whirls past like a drunken wildfire. And one more by Tu Fu, also translated by Kenneth Rexroth. This entitled Snowstorm. Tumult, weeping, many new ghosts. Heartbroken, aging, alone, I sing to myself. Ragged mist settles in the spreading dusk. Snow scurries in the coiling wind. The wine glass is spilled. The bottle is empty. The fire has gone out in the stove. Everywhere men speak in whispers. I brood on the uselessness of letters. How about a short poem by Emily Dickinson? This is number 60 of her life cycle. A shady friend for torrid days is easier to find than one of higher temperature for frigid hour of mind. The vein a little to the east scares muslin souls away, if broadcloth breasts are firmer than those of organdy. Who is to blame? The weaver? Ah, the bewildering thread. The tapestries of paradise so notelessly are made. And now, The Snowman, written by Wallace Stevens. One must have a mind of winter to regard the frost on the boughs of the pine trees crusted with snow, and have been cold a long time to behold the junipers shagged with ice, the spruces rough in the distant glitter of the January sun, and not to think of any misery in the sound of the wind, in the sound of a few leaves, which is the sound of the land, full of the same wind that is blowing in the same bare place for the listener, who listens in the snow, and, nothing himself, beholds nothing that is not there, and nothing that is. I have a few other poems which are works in other languages translated. I'd considered first reading Ode to Winter by Pablo Neruda, Oda al invierno, in Spanish, and then read the Ilan Stavans translation, I Will Spare You. I'm going to do the same for the François Villon. My Spanish and French are not up to my English, but this publication is a bilingual edition, and so all of Pablo Neruda's odes are published in the original Spanish, and then there are a myriad of translators who have translated each of the odes into English. This published by Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. You see, you don't want to hear me. Yeah, I won't do it. So, this is Oda al Invierno, Ode to Winter, by Pablo Neruda, translated by Ilan Stavans. Winter, there is something between us, hills under the rain, galloping in the wind, windows where your clothes accumulated, your iron shirt, your wet pants, your belt of translucent leather. Winter, for us you are mist at the jetty, clamorous cape, white rose, snow corolla. For me, winter, you are a horse. Fog ascends from your muzzle, raindrops fall on your tail, electrified bursts are your manes. You gallop endlessly, splashing with mud the passerby. We look, and you're gone. We don't see your face. We don't know if your eyes are made of seawater or Cordillera. You've passed like the head of hair of lightning. The tree was not unharmed. The leaves gathered on the ground, the nests were left up high like tatters while you were galloping in the planet's moribund light. But you are cold, winter, and your piles of black snow and water on the roof cross the houses like needles. They injure like rusty knives. Nothing stops you. Cough attacks begin. Children go out with wet shoes. Fever in beds is like the sail of a ship sailing toward death. The city of the poor that burns the slippery mine, the winds combat. Since then, winter, I know your pierced cloths and the whistle of your horn amid the Oricarius. When you clamor and cry, spell of crazy rain, uncurled thunder, and heart of snow. The man became a giant on the sand, protected himself with the outdoors salt, and the sun dressed up with splattered silk, the body of a new female swimmer. But when the winter arrives, the man makes himself a small clue, moving like a funeral umbrella. He covers himself with waterproof wings. He becomes humid and soft, like a crumb, attends church, and reads morning trifles. Meanwhile, above, amid the oak trees, at the head of the snowdrifts on the coast, you reign with your spear, with your frozen violin, with the falling plumes of your indomitable chest. Someday we'll recognize each other, when the magnitude of your beauty won't fall over man, when you will no longer penetrate my brother's roof, when I will be able to reach your tallest space of whiteness without you biting me. I will pass by while greeting your unchained monarchy. I will tip my hat under the same rain of my childhood, because I will be sure of your waters. They wash the world, take away the papers, crush the day's small dirtiness, wash your waters the face of the earth, and descend to the bottom where spring sleeps. You shake her, injure her translucent legs, awake her, wet her. She starts laboring, sweeps the dead leaves, collects their fragrant merchandise, climbs the staircase of the trees, and suddenly we see her up high, with a new dress and her old green eyes. Beautiful. And now the Villon poem I mentioned, Ballade des Dames du Temps Jadis, which is the Ballad of the Ladies of Old, by François Villon. This has the famous line, Mais où sont les neiges d'antan, which is, but where are the snows of the past? Where are the snows of yesteryear? And I found this quite good translation by A.S. Kline, who's translated a number of Villon's works. Actually, one day we'll literally do an entire episode of an amazing work by Douglas Hofstadter where he translates over and over this short Villon poem, Ma Mignonne, my sweetie, my cutie, my little one. This book, Le Tombeau de Marot, a fascinating work. But not today. Today we will read Ballad of the Ladies of Old by François Villon. Tell me where or in what country is Flora, the lovely Roman, Archipiades or Thais, who was her nearest cousin, echo answering at clap of hand over the river and the meadow, whose beauty was more than human. Oh, where is last year's snow? Where is that wise girl Eloise, for whom was gelded to his great shame Peter Abelard at Saint Denis, for love of her enduring pain? And where now is that queen again, who commanded them to throw Buridan in a sack in the Seine? Oh, where is last year's snow? Queen Blanche of the siren's voice, white as a swan, and Alice, say, Bertha Bigfoot and Beatrice, Armembourg, ruler of Maine, or Jeanne d'Arc of Lorraine, the English burned at Rouen. Oh, where are they, virgin, who you reign? Oh, where is last year's snow? Prince, don't ask of me again where they are, this year or no. I have only this last refrain. Oh, where is last year's snow? It's an example of the Ubi-Sut motif. Another theme around which I would like to frame a show in the future. Next, I will read a work by William Carlos Williams, a famous modern poet, excellent poet. This titled Winter Trees. All the complicated details of the attiring and the disattiring are completed. A liquid moon moves gently among the long branches, thus having prepared their buds against a sure winter. The wise trees stand sleeping in the cold. And a poem by Emily Brontë, To a Wreath of Snow. O transient voyager of heaven, O silent sign of winter skies, what adverse wind thy sail has driven to dungeons where a prisoner lies? Methinks the hands that shut the sun so sternly from this morning's brow might still their rebel task have done, and checked a thing so frail as thou. They would have done it, had they known the talisman that dwelt in thee, for all the suns that ever shone have never been so kind to me. For many a week and many a day my heart was weighed with sinking gloom, when morning rose in morning gray and faintly lit my prison room. But angel-like, when I awoke, thy silvery form so soft and fair, shining through darkness, sweetly spoke of cloudy skies and mountains bare. The dearest to a mountaineer who all life long has loved the snow that crowned his native summits drear, better than greenest plains below. And voiceless, soulless messenger, thy presence waked a thrilling tone that comforts me while thou art here, and will sustain when thou art gone. just a couple more. I decided to eschew the 90-minute episodes. This from a more recent poet, Scott Cairns, is called Early Frost. And it begins. This morning the world's white face reminds us that life intends to become serious again. And the same loud birds that all summer long annoyed us with their high attitudes and chatter silently line the gibbet of the fence, a little stunned, chastened enough. They look as if they're waiting for things to grow worse, but are watching the house, as if somewhere in their dim memories they recall something about this abandoned garden that could save them. The neighbor's dog has also learned to wake without exaggeration, and the neighbor himself has made it to his car with less noise, starting the small engine with a kind of reverence. At the window, his wife witnesses this bleak tableau, blinking her eyes, silent. I fill the feeders to the top and cart them to the tree, hurrying back inside to leave the morning to these ridiculous birds, who, reminded, find the rough shelters, bow, and then feed. Now a poem by Samuel Menashe called The Dead of Winter. In my coat I sit at the window sill, wintering with snow that did not melt. It fell long ago, at night, by stealth. I was where I am when the snow began. And our last poem by a now favorite poet of mine, Gwendolyn Bennett. Born over 100 years ago in 1902. This poem titled Quatrains. 1. Brushes and paints are all I have to speak the music in my soul, while silently there laughs at me a copper jar beside a pale green bowl. 2. How strange that grass should sing. Grass is so still a thing, and strange the swift surprise of snow, so soft it falls and slow. I wish you warmth this winter and love and fortune in the years to come. Thank y'all.